what I like. That's what I need. I'm feeling fresh, don't need stress. I'm doing me. That's what I like. That's what I need. I'm way too blessed, don't need to stress about a thing. That's what I need.
Nice tag.
Embrace the flavor of life.
The way I see it is you've got two choices. You can either keep pretending like nothing bad's ever gonna happen to you, and then when it does, you're saying, uh-oh, or you can get ahead of what's coming so that when it does, not if, you're ready for it. And you're sitting pretty, sipping on Mai Tais next to the pool, working on that Caribbean suntan, because you got it covered. So folks, it's time for you to learn the truth about money. It's time for you to take back control of your money so that you are ready for what's about to happen. By doing that, you're setting yourself up for absolute success. No matter what comes your way, you're ready for it. And that's what I want for you, and I want to help you with that. So go to chrisnaugle.com and sign up for the Wealth Webinar. We do them every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and you need to be there because it's time.
For over 90 years, we've been crash testing our cars in the tireless pursuit of automotive safety. At Volvo, safety's been first since 1927. We've saved millions of lives with the invention of the three-point seatbelt in 1959. At Volvo, we've made driving safer for you and them. Visit safety.finleyvolvo.com to learn more.
So they say if you give a man a gun, he'll rob a bank. But if you give a man a bank, he'll rob everybody. The good news for you is Private Money Club runs solely on peer-to-peer relationships, which means no banks allowed. So finally, there's a community for real estate entrepreneurs where it is truly a win-win solution. This community is a place where you can connect with other lenders and other borrowers, and the end result's massive growth for you. You get to build your real estate empire, and you get to do it solving other people's problems. So if that sounds like a place you want to be, well then join us. Go to privatemoneyclub.com/Kelly. And if you want $500 off, just add the code Kelly500 and I'll knock $500 off the premier membership. We'll see you on the inside.
Welcome to the Kelly Cardenas podcast, where attitude is everything. On today's show, we're going to be talking about resilience. We're going to be talking about you being that one. And this man already showed me, we had so many technical difficulties. It was actually on my side. We were having challenges with mics, with echoing, with all these things. And it was amazing to be able to see his attitude that was just like, hey, we'll get this thing fixed. We'll make it right. We'll make it happen. And he's here with me today. If you've never heard of Justin Prince, you aren't on this planet. But this man is one of the most positive, and the accomplishments that he has, I asked him, what do you want to be? What is your title? And he said, simply a family man and entrepreneur. That's what I am, and that's what it is that I do and what I want to be known for. So please welcome to the show the incredible, incredible force, Mr. Justin Prince. Welcome to the show, my man.
Kelly, what's going on, brother? Man, what an honor to be on with you. Fired up about it. Love your energy, love your passion, and excited to be here, dude.
Well, let's talk about what happened just like 5 minutes ago, man. We hop on, it's echoing, we're turning things off, turning things back on, because I believe that's the way to fix every electronic. But through the process, like it wasn't, there was no quit in you, man. And that's been the message of you your entire life. Where did you learn that from?
Well, so first of all, we're like two monkeys just pounding on all the keyboards to see if we can, push the right button on accident, But no, listen, I believe that success is an identity process, and you'll never outperform the way that you see yourself. So if you see yourself as a loser, you're not going to show up and play like a winner. If you see yourself as a winner, you're not going to roll over and quit like a loser. Like success is an identity. And as I think back to my, life, I've been a fighter my whole life. I've been going out there and fighting and trying to make things happen my whole life. And so to the idea, I teach leaders, there's two questions you want to ask, two questions great leaders ask. Question number one is, how far do I fall? Question number two is, how long do I stay down? So the first one's a depth question. The second one's a duration question. So how far do I fall is, how far are you going to fall when negativity hits? So like, how far are you going to fall emotionally? Like, do you just completely fall apart? Or do you say, you know what, we'll figure this thing out, right? Are you resilient? Second question is, how long are you going to stay down? Because you and I have both met people that have had really challenging things happen in their life. So what we went through is obviously very, just it was just a quick little glitch. But we've had, you and I both know people that have been through real life stuff, bankruptcies, divorces, addictions, real hurts, real pains, real betrayal. And we've met people that have hit rock bottom. So you say, how far do they fall? They fell all the way to the bottom. We've also met people that have hit rock bottom that aren't on rock bottom anymore. They have this incredible way. They are living a beautiful life now. They've had this incredible way to be massively resilient and to bounce back up. And so the two questions are, again, how far am I going to fall? How long am I going to stay down emotionally? And how far am I going to fall? And how long am I going to stay down, in my life? And so, you kind of get to a point where you start building a little bit of emotional muscle, and you just say, you know what, I'm not going to fall too far. I'm not going to, freak out on this thing. And then number one, and then number two is I'm going to bounce back. I'm just not going to stay down too long. So, that's the way I would look at it. Our thing obviously was really minor and simple, but in life, those are the two great questions you want to ask yourself: is the depth question, the duration question, how far and how long.
What prepared your soil um, to be able to grow that type of seed, though? Because you know we can have all the greatest information in the world. We could have the greatest tactics. We could have all those things. But if they're not planted in the right soil, and nothing happens. And it seems, let's go back early for you, early life wise. Did everything go Justin's way, or did you learn it little bit by little bit? Did you learn by taking blows, or what was it?
Yeah, yeah. So life is not an information process. Life is an application process. So what does that mean? It means it's not in the knowing that you gain the power, it's in the doing that you gain the power. So Da Vinci said, it's he that doeth the deed that hath the power. If you want the power, you got to do the deed. And so, a couple of thoughts from my childhood. So I grew up in a kind of a middle class family, from Salt Lake City, Utah. When my mom married my dad, he had two kids. And so when I was born, she had a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, children. I was her oldest. And then they had 4 kids together. When I was 12, my folks got divorced. And I'll share this with you. I don't know if you remember those cartoons, like when we were little kids, but they would have like a little like devil, on the one shoulder and like a little angel on the other shoulder. And I was sitting in class. I'm in 7th grade. I'm in a math class, and I wasn't paying attention to what the teacher was saying. I was literally looking out the window, and I was going through just a lot of pain as a young kid. You're about 13 years old, and you're trying to process through all the pain of this divorce, and your dad's moving out, and your mom's single, and you're just trying to kind of process it all. Anyway, the little devil on the one side said to me, kind of whispered in my ear, it's like, you can do whatever you want now. It's like, you can like get terrible grades, you can flunk out of school, you can slough school if you want, you can do drugs, you can drink alcohol, you can have sex with girls, you can get in fights, you can do whatever you want. And guess what? For the rest of your life, you can blame your parents, because here you are, you're like at a pivotal age, you're 13 years old. It's not your fault. They got divorced. And I was like, man, that's true. And then I had this little angel on my other shoulder. It's like, hey, listen, you can do all those things. That's true. But guess what? You have to live in the life that you create. And so, yes, you can do all that stuff, but it's your life to live. So if you want to blame your parents, that's fine, but it's still your life to live. So you can like choose not to do that stuff and choose to live a good life. And I look back at that, this little conversation that I had with myself, and I made a decision to follow, in this case, the good little angel, the good stuff in my head. And the word decision is an interesting word. So it comes from the Latin. Decision meant to cut, the D meant off. So an incision cut in, a decision cut off. So in other words, you would come up to a moment of your life and you would make a decision. When you made that decision, in this case, to go right, you cut off all possibilities of what would have happened if you would have gone left. And as I think back to those simple decisions I made, even as a young man, and obviously many, 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 many after, those decisions ultimately shape your life. I tell people, you are not who you are what you repeatedly do. So we all make mistakes. We all do stupid things. We all don't live to our best version of ourselves all the time. I get that. You're not who you are, or you're not what you did. Pardon me. You're not what you did, but you are what you repeatedly do. So in other words, your overall habits and patterns. And we all make mistakes, we all do things, but if you consistently and repeatedly do that stuff, that ultimately defines your life. And that's really something I feel like I've been blessed with. It's not that I haven't made a ton of mistakes, but generally speaking, I've built some good habits, good patterns, did it on purpose and by design. I didn't just hope hope is a great thing, but hope is a terrible business strategy. It's a terrible life strategy. Just to hope things are going to go well. Listen, you want to build intention in your life, and you want to be on purpose and by design. And that's what I felt like I did. And I built good habits and good patterns. And here's what's so interesting, Kelly. The habits and patterns that were the ones that were intentionally designed and created ultimately became my default setting. So think of this. Instead of your default setting be kind of like something that sucks, my default setting actually became something that's pretty good. So in other words, waking up in the morning and going to the gym became just kind of just part of your habit, just part of your pattern, just kind of what you did. You didn't have to wake up and like grind, like, oh, do I want to do it today? It was just part of what you did. So stringing together good habits and good patterns with intention has become kind of a default setting. And so you're overall doing most of the right things. So you are not what you did, but you are what you repeatedly do. So remind yourself, hey, listen, we all make mistakes, give yourself some grace, but then start building new habits, new patterns, so you don't do that stuff on repeat.
How'd you learn how to deal with when things didn't go your way or you heard a no?
You know, I think a lot of that was ingrained in me as a young kid, in this idea of being kind of like a fighter, creating an identity of like, I don't give up. Les Brown says it this way. He says, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, he said, if all you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you'd gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and give up all of your terror of the opposition for it, if you'll simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither famine nor gout, sickness nor pain, a body and brain can keep you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you beseech and you beset it, with the help of God, you will get it. And man, to me, I wanted to win. You know what I'm saying? It was worth the fight. I tell people, listen, you got to fight for your dreams, fight for your family, fight for your freedom, fight for your finances. Like, it is a fight. It is. C.S. Lewis used to say, and this was used more in like a religious or spiritual context, but it's the truth about life. He says every square inch of the universe is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. In other words, there's no neutral ground. You're either in the fight, you're either winning the fight or you're losing the fight. And that goes for all of these kind of key areas of your life. It's all claimed. It's all claimed and counterclaimed. So you've got to say, you know what, I'm going to fight for my family. I'm going to fight for my finances and for my freedom. I'm going to fight for my future. Like, I'm going to fight for it. Because Les Brown says, if you do what's easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what's hard, your life will be easy. And so you want to do the hard things. It's worth the fight. Success is worth the fight. Going for your dreams, going for your goals, getting back up after you get knocked down, going through the rejection, all of that stuff is worth the fight. And I fortunately was just kind of have that anchor of like, you know what, I'm a freaking fighter. I'm going to figure this thing out.
What caused the fight? Like, most of the time when you see someone who's making the type of impact that you're making, and I mean, you're helping businesses, you're helping individuals, you're helping groups of people. Most of the time that help comes from pain. And that's what I've seen in the past. Like, a person who battled with alcohol helps people to not battle with alcohol. Person that went through child abuse wants to make sure that other people don't get abused. Where did your fight come from, and did it come from pain?
Such an interesting insight, first of all. Do you want to know what's so interesting about that insight? The question that you're making and these insights that you're pulling as you're interviewing and meeting and doing life with people. It's so interesting. Here's how I would hit you with it. First of all, a ton of it came from pain. But here's what's interesting. The way that I would share it with you is this. Your pain and your like the revenge and the like, that hurt, that burns. Even being pissed, just like, dude, I'm going to show them, that kind of thing. That burns like gunpowder. It burns really, really hot, and it burns really fast, and it burns really short. It's short term. Tom Brady, when he was the 199th pick, you threw some logs on the fire. Right? It burns like gunpowder. However, guess what burns long term? Your vision, your dreams, your goal, your legacy. Like, Tom Brady didn't burn on gunpowder for his entire career. After he won title after title after title after title after title. Like, at what point do you just say, you know what, I proved it. I'm the man. He burned on legacy. He burned on the long stuff. So here's what I teach people, and this is what I had to do for myself. is, have I burned for short periods of time on pain? Absolutely. Maybe 6 weeks or 3 months, maybe 6 months, that kind of thing. Cool. I have. But what I tell people and what I've done for myself, I've lived this, is I convert the hurt. So I take the pain or the hurt from pain to fuel. I go through a conversion process. So if you think of like a solar panel, what does a solar panel do? It's a converter. What it does is it converts like the rays of the sun. It goes through a conversion process when it hits the panel. It converts it from like solar energy to electrical energy. A wind turbine takes the power of the wind and it converts it into electrical energy. The same with a water turbine. So they're converters. You want to take all the pain that you feel, and you want to go through a conversion process, because your dreams and your goals and your vision and your legacy, that stuff will burn forever. You will never burn out of that stuff. It doesn't burn short term. It doesn't burn like gunpowder. It burns like a long, long fuse, and you can run on that stuff forever. So you convert from pain to fuel. And instead of letting the pain define your future, it drives your future, meaning because it goes through a conversion process. And that's what I've had to do. Including here in just the last number of weeks, I've had to go through a conversion process of converting it from pain to fuel, so that I'm not running just on, just the rage and the anger and the hurt and the pain and the betrayal. Like that just will burn short term. When you convert it into legacy, mission, purpose, values, that stuff you can burn on for the rest of your life.
What about the person that looks at a Justin and says, I mean, you got a thriving business now, like everybody who is on the planet Earth knows who you are. You're connecting, you're inside, you're connecting with your purpose, you're moving towards that. What about the person that's kind of in it, like kind of struggling right now, and they're saying, Justin, it sounds really good. This sounds amazing to me to be able to convert my pain. But what's the first step in that pain conversion, and maybe a specific that you've experienced as far as pain, so it can make it personal for them?
Yeah, look, I'll give you an example for me. I remember my very first business. I remember the guy that I worked for. The company I worked for, the president of the company calls me and basically goes, "Hey, I've heard you've started this business." So I was still working in my job, but I was going to ultimately kind of phase out eventually and have my business be big enough to run my business. So I heard you're starting this new business. I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he said, "Well, you'll be able to succeed. You'll be able to succeed." He goes, "It's probably gonna take you maybe 5 years." And I don't even know if most people can't succeed because they can't hang in there for 5 years. And he kind of just tried to tear me down. He did actually a few different things through the years to try and tear me down. One of which is he fired me on December 21st. I was the number one sales guy in the entire company. So I had no disciplinary issues. I was the number one sales guy. He fired me right before Christmas, and it was a really painful time. At the time I needed that income on a weekly basis, and it just fired me up so much. I mean, on one hand, it almost cripples you. You almost just want to say mercy, just wave the white flag, like I can't do this thing anymore. But I just was like, I'm not gonna give up. So here's what I did. One of the things I think we can do is I said to myself, he just guaranteed my success. My success just went from either impossible or improbable to inevitable. Because remember, there's 5 stages of certainty. By the way, Kelly, here's a question to ask. Guess how certain we are of things that we're certain about? Well, pretty certain. You are pretty certain about things you're certain about. So there's 5 stages. The lowest stage of certainty is impossible. If something's impossible, you're not going to give it very much time, energy, or effort. Why? Because it's completely impossible. Why would you go chase that? The next stage up would be improbable, or I'm so sorry, would be possible. So you have to go from it's impossible to at least it's possible. Now, listen, it may not be possible for you and your mindset, but it is possible in the world. Cool. That's a big step. Next one up was improbable. So I know it's possible, but the odds of me hitting this are improbable. Like the deck is stacked against me. Next up would be probable. So probable is it's not only possible, and then it's not improbable. In other words, the deck's not stacked against me. The deck's actually stacked in my favor. It's like the odds of this panning out are high. Okay. Then what's the last step? Inevitable. Inevitable is it's guaranteed to happen. Inevitable is I will persist until I succeed. It's not over until I win. I remember when with that guy, and by the way, I could give you many other times where someone kind of tore me down, ripped me down, And I thought to myself, you just guaranteed my success. Just like, dude, it may take me 6 months, it may take me 6 years, but I guarantee that I will have the last laugh. It's not over until I win. I will overcome this. And again, that was pain. That was pain. That was like that was gunpowder. That burned really hot.
Yeah.
But what I did is I went through a conversion process where you get clear on your mission, principles, values, purpose. And that's the stuff that will burn long term. And by the way, I have no problem with you burning on gunpowder for the next 3 months or 6 months or 6 weeks. Cool. Good for you. Get yourself in action. Get going. But you got to say to yourself, that hurt that I just experienced, the pain that I'm feeling right now, my first business failed. I'm living in the loft of my wife's parents' garage. I have my pregnant wife and now 2 kids. 2 kids are sleeping in the closet. I'm working 2 part-time jobs, sleeping in the little loft. I work all weekday doing weekdays doing one job, all weekend doing another job. I'm starting another business. I'm 27 years old. I'm a grown man. I live in the United States of America, and I'm living in the loft of my in-laws' garage with 2 part-time jobs. I'm like, what the freak am I doing with my life, And I just kept converting that stuff from pain into fuel. Just to let it fuel my future. And I literally was like, I am not going to lose because I'm going to basically die trying. I'm like, I'm not going to be the guy that I'm either going to win or I'm going to die trying. And that's literally was the attitude. And I'm not going to let them have the last laugh. And I look back at it now. You want to know what's so interesting also? I remember thinking to myself, I was going to put the guy that was the president of that company, I was going to put him on this is when I was 25, 26 years old. I was going to put him on an auto ship of my check stubs. I was just going to in other words, just show him the growth of my business and just checkmate every month, And at first that kind of drove me. After a while, that stuff, I was just like, dude, that was it's just you just move past, kind of that pettiness of it, just the hurt of it, more into no, I'm just here to serve people. You know what I'm saying? You kind of shifted it from I'll get you, I'll show you, to more no, it's not about him anymore. But I did use that. I did say, you just guaranteed my success. I did say that stuff. I teach in my book, I teach how to have a 3D vision. So check this out, Kelly, because I think this could help as well. 3D vision is where you can look at your vision from all different angles. And by the way, you say, why is a vision so important? A vision answers a question that everyone subconsciously has. So in other words, your children have this when they're going through really hard times with your 15-year-old and they're hanging out with the wrong kids and they've got some addiction issues and they're going through some challenges. They're asking this question. So as a parent, you need to have an answer to this question. When you're going through a hard time in your business, revenues are down, sales are down, teams discouraged, customers are quitting, you need to answer this question for the team and for your employee base. When you're in a marriage and it's a dark night in the marriage, it's a really challenging time in the marriage, you need to be able to answer this question. What is the question? The question is, will it always be this way? Will it always be this way? The teenager's asking, Mom, Dad, is it always going to be this way? That they're asking it subconsciously. When the business is struggling, people are asking, is it always going to be this way? Because if the answer is it's always going to be this way, people make very different decisions than when there's vision. What does vision provide? Provides hope, provides a reminder that the sun's coming up in the east tomorrow. We're going to work through this. This is a challenging time. We're going to get through it. When the marriage without a vision will fail. Why? Because they think if it's always going to be this way, you know what? Forget this. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. So vision's critical to pulling a business forward. So there's 3 Ds. First D is you want to define your vision. What is your vision for the future? The next 3 months, 6 months, 5, 1 year, 5 years. Let's define this thing. Let's cast this thing out. So Brendan Burchard wrote a book called High Performance Habits, biggest study of high performers in human history. And he said that when they interviewed high performers, if you were to tap a high performer on the shoulder and you were to ask them, what is your latest dream? What is your latest goal? Or what is your latest vision? A high performer can answer that question 7 to 10 seconds faster than the rest of the population. Why? Because they define the vision. They have a kind of a clear vision. They've taken time to define it. They know what they're trying to accomplish. Visions and dreams on the back of your mind won't motivate you. This stuff should be on the tip of your tongue. Dominant thought, burning desire. You think about this stuff. It's defined in your mind of am I looking to hit? Your mind works on a reticulated activating system. It's basically like a heat-seeking missile. Your mind can figure stuff out, but you've got to have clarity in the definition and define what you're trying to do. Second thing is you want to declare it. So you don't want to keep a vision a secret. you want to like declare it to people that, can support you and say, hey, Kelly, you got this, bro. You got this. Go knock this thing out. You got this, dude. By the way, I'll hold you accountable. I'll cheer you on. I'll support you. And you say, well, man, I don't have a lot of people like that in my life. Listen, find somebody. And the ones that say you're an idiot, take some, there's wisdom in counsel, don't get me wrong, but also take some of that and convert it from like, yeah, okay, you just guarantee I'm going to figure it out now, So you declare it. And then the third thing is you dedicate your life to it. You dedicate your life to your vision. So you define it, you declare it, and you dedicate. And you say, I'm going to go make this thing happen. I'm going to learn the skills. I'm going to build skill above my talent. I'm going to pay the price. There's a price for failure. There's a price for success. You have to fight for success. We talked about that earlier. This stuff is not given. Success is leased. It's not owned. And rents due every single day. You've heard these concepts. It's true. You got to go fight for this stuff. And so that's kind of what I would share is like, man, get in there and say, I'm going to, it's not over till I win. Define it, declare it, and then go dedicate yourself to it.
Justin, when does this stuff not work?
Here's what's so interesting. So success principles, they will always work. So you say, okay, so what's the catch? The catch is this. Life's tough. Life's freaking tough. Like I've seen people that were building real estate empires that the market shifted and their real estate empire, was toasted. Or I've seen people, build businesses, have the whole business taken away, or the government does this, or this shifts, or that, or a global, an economic war, or a global war, like conflict. Man, life's tough. I get it. A divorce, a betrayal, all that stuff. That's all real. To where you might lose it all. Here's what's so great about the success principles. Like when I wrote the book, Be the One, to me, it was a book I wasn't designed just to like inspire and motivate. I hope it does inspire and motivate, but what I really hope it does is teach. I hope it teaches the practical, tactical steps and the frameworks and the formulas for you to create, design, and live an unforgettable life. So in other words, I want it to actually, people like each chapter, like, dude, I got it. Like, I know what to do. And so when that stuff happens, the same success principles that made you successful, that you start building now, that you can apply those again and again and again. That's why you can go rebuild your life, go rebuild your marriage, go rebuild your fitness and your health, go rebuild your spiritual life, go rebuild your business. Is because the same success principles, once you learn the habits and patterns of being a successful person, man, it's a rinse and repeat. So even if life knocks you down, even if life completely, and I'm talking outside of your own control sometimes, okay, the same success principles that got you there, are the same ones that are going to take you to where you need to go next time. It's about adjusting, adapting, and persisting until you succeed.
So let me ask you this. My brother and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Why is it then that you see so much destruction in marriage in the personal development realm?
Just to clarify, meaning like with personal development kind of people,
like in the personal development realm. I mean, most of the guys that are speaking in the personal development realm, not yourself, but the majority, you're seeing marriages fly apart. You don't see, most of the time, you don't see couples in a retreat together. You see a guy there, or you see a woman there, or whatever it is. But we were talking about this, and we were saying, if people are personally developing, it's like the cobbler's shoes, right? The cobbler's shoes are always the ones with holes. So why do you think that is? What do you think contributes to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's such an interesting question. I'll share with you two thoughts. The first thing, let me just kind of hit it from my perspective.
Yeah.
So because it's hard for me to talk about each individual person, right? From my perspective, the first thing is this. You want to define what race you're trying to win. So for me, there's two races. Race number one is the race of having Instagram followers, and the race of making money, and the race of having a car and a house, and the race of people knowing who you are and fame. That's race number one. By the way, good for you. Go win that race. Go make some dollars. I'm all in. Go build the business. Go get famous. I'm all good. Okay. What's race number two? Race number two is your relationship that you have with God or in your faith. Race number two is a relationship you have in your marriage. Race number two is a relationship you have with your children. Race number two is your personal legacy and integrity. If you were to win the first race and lose the second race, in my opinion, you lost the race, because the real race is the second race. So in other words, if you gain everything and you lose your marriage and you lose your integrity and you lose your children, listen, you lost in my personal opinion, right? Now, here's the good news. I meet people that sometimes say to me, look, I'm not successful, but at least I'm spiritual. And I say, no, your gifts and talents weren't given to you for you. Your gifts and talents were given to you for everyone else. You need to go serve and add value to other people. Service to many leads to greatness. So you can win both races. You can make a ton of money and have Instagram followers. I'm using Instagram followers, as a generic concept. You can have people know who you are, and you can hold your marriage together and have a beautiful marriage. You can hold your children together where your children respect you and you respect them, and you're teaching proper principles and values. And there's an old quote by David O. McKay. He says that no success outside of the home can compensate for failure inside the home. So the real race that we're trying to build is in these homes. If you build strong homes, you'll build strong communities. If you build strong communities, you build strong churches and schools and strong businesses. If you build strong churches, schools, and businesses, etc., hospitals, and so on, you build strong states and ultimately strong countries, and strong countries lead to strong worlds. You see what's happening right now? It's one of the, if you were to focal point it all the way down, it's to the demise of the home. Families don't have family dinner together, for example. Family dinner is where, a mom and a dad can teach kids, and they can instill principles and values over breaking bread. And so you want to make sure that you're winning the right race, right? Which is race number 2. That'd be my first thing. Second thing I'd say is this. One thing that can happen in a relationship when, in this case, one spouse really starts to grow and really starts to kind of level up, there can be a separation sometimes between the spouses. The other spouse doesn't really level up as much. And you want to really, you want to be very aware of this and have good communication as you go through this, to see if you can start to to have both spouses be on a similar track, to where it's not like all the personal growth takes the one, completely over here, and then the other one stays completely over here, or maybe goes a different direction. I've seen that happen. It kind of pulls people apart a little bit. It doesn't have to happen, by the way. And they also don't have to read all the same books. They don't have to attend all the same events. They don't have to do all the same stuff. My wife and I, when we were coming up through our journey, she had 6 pregnancies, 4 babies. We had a stillborn birth and a miscarriage. She was terribly sick for all pregnancies. So in other words, from day 1 to day delivery, she would be thrown up 12 and 15 times a day. She would have just kind of a horrific morning sickness the whole time. She was 4 for 4 C-sections. So, over that period of 6 pregnancies, 4 babies, 4 for 4 C-sections, sick the entire time. And this is as I'm trying to build businesses. My first one's failing. We're living in a loft. We're we're moving around. It was a hard time. It was hard. I mean, it's a grind. And there was times when I could feel us kind of because I'd go to events and I'm driving and I'm trying to make the business happen. Here she is sick at home and trying to take care of these babies, and she's trying to recover from the surgery and the whole thing. So we're living different paths. But what saved us was not that we were reading the same books or going to the same events or hanging around the same people. It wasn't that. She was at home, nurturing these little children. What saved us was we had good communication, and we could come back together, and we could find a way to move forward together. So again, I would tune into what she was excited about, passionate about, where she was at in her life. She would tune back into where I was going, and it was our business. It wasn't my business. It wasn't her kids. It was our business, our life, our kids. You create those connection points. It's what I call enlist your family, enlist the kids, enlist your spouse. The business isn't your business; it's our business. And that's the stuff that I think ultimately pulled us through versus pulling us apart during those times. So, look, I don't know if I'm an expert on why everyone struggles, but those would be two kind of concepts that you could use as you're going through the challenge and the grind of life.
Well, when I'm saying it too, it doesn't come from a judgment standpoint. I'm divorced myself, and now I'm very, very happily remarried, but it's just a question because a lot of times you see those things happen. But I mean, you just gave a masterclass right then and there, which was amazing, man. I started the podcast because of my 2 kids, Maddox and McKenna. Maddox is 12 years old. He marches the beat of his own drum. My daughter's 14 years old. She's in the arts and sings and acts and It's got the most sarcastic comedy that I could ever imagine. It's always directed at me. But I started the podcast because I wanted to take iconic figures like yourself, and I wanted to show my kids that you weren't an idol. You were a person, and you were an icon.
I love that.
And I didn't want them to worship idols. I just wanted them to be inspired by icons like yourself. So what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names, it would be awesome.
Yeah. So Maddox and McKenna, here's what I'd share with you. It's 3 simple words. It's be the one. So if you think of your parents, your dad and your mom, and you think of your grandparents, if you knew them, think of your great grandparents, if you happen to know them. But if you take the last 12 generations of your family lineage, it was 4,094 people. So 4,094 people from all over the world literally came together to create you. And you are the one. You're the one that these 4,094 people lived for and bled for and cried for and died for and gave everything for you to have this moment. You are the one. And you want to live a life where and write a story where future generations of your posterity that are yet unborn look up into their family lineage and they say, it was her or it was him. It's my great, great, great grandma. It's my great, great, great grandpa. He's the one that changed it for our family. So you say, how many people in a family, how many people does it take to change the generational curse of abuse or of addiction? How many people does it take to be the one that creates financial stability, teaches the financial principles? My friend, it takes one. It just takes you. It takes you making the decision to create and to design and to live an unforgettable life. And so when you recognize I'm the one, right? I'm the one. And then the second thing is to be it. Be that one today. In other words, be the best version of yourself today. Step into the best version of who you really are today. And use that as a mantra to say, you know what, I'm the one. I'm going to go be the one today.
Justin, it's incredible, man, because reading about you, watching you, listening, the congruency when you get a chance to be able to interact with you is unbelievable, man. And I want to thank you.
Appreciate that, bro.
I want to thank you for your time, man. I want to thank everybody out there that's been listening and watching, rocking with the podcast since the beginning. Check out all our sponsors. You guys know what you need to do. But Justin, it has been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to forcing you to be my friend for the rest of your life, man. And,
let's go, bro.
And having you on the show again, man. The next time we won't have any technical difficulties, I promise.
Okay, let's do it. No, brother, it's an honor to be on with you. Let's do it again, and just admire and appreciate I told you this when we started, the high vibe that you're putting out and just the value that you're adding to people. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you, my man, and you're officially off the hot seat.